Hi folks, G3 here, and welcome to another instalment of my journey to go green. Today's episode is another one of my gardening catch-ups, where I'll let you know what I've been doing in the garden over the last few weeks, and that will hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration for the kind of things that you could also potentially be doing. I'll share some tips that might be useful for you, and also if you can leave your comments down below with your tips for me, that would be much appreciated. Right, let's get on with the activities. One of the tasks I'm doing this week is I'm going to be looking after the strawberry beds that I've got here. They've actually grown quite well, and we're getting a good crop of strawberries coming on them. I think we've already had 5 strawberries, really nice sizable ones. One has been ripe, we've been able to eat. The others are currently ripening on the window ledge in the kitchen. So that's one little tip for you. If you've got any that are nearing ripening and you're worried about the birds getting them, you can always just snip them off and put them on the windowsill, and they'll finish ripening with the sun coming through and the warmth, and then they'll finish off there and they'll be safe indoors. So that's something that you can always do. The kind of things that I'm going to be doing here, I'm just going to be doing a bit of weeding. Whilst the strawberry plants are growing well and putting out quite a bit of shade, which is going to naturally suppress a number of the weeds, there are some still coming up through, so I just want to get those out so there's less competition for the water and the nutrients. So just a case of, with my trowel, I'm just going to be getting a few of those up. Now my soil here is quite light, where I've gone and put in some organic matter in here as well as my usual chalky soil, so it's fairly straightforward for me just to get a little trowel underneath and pull them out. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just tidying up, removing some of the dead leaves as well, removing those out of the way, just making it nice and tidy just to get some good airflow around there. Now one thing to look out for with these is that they are already starting to throw out runners. This plant has sent out a long shoot, and it will have a bit of a growing tip on here where the roots will come out of, as well as the leaves. And what happens is, if that's managed to plant itself in the soil, then that will root down from this point here. So that'll root down and a new plant will start growing there, and that's how these strawberry plants spread. Now I don't want that to happen at this time. I don't want the plant to be putting energy into putting out these suckers and trying to grow new plants. I want it to be concentrating on the fruit, so I'm just going to be snipping those off. So that's all I'm going to be doing going around here, is just getting out the weeds and removing those suckers and the dead leaves off of here as well, just giving it a general tidy and making sure that there's good aeration around there. Generally the plants seem really healthy, in really good shape, and they're throwing out lots of strawberries, so I don't really want to impact them too much. I've taken care of the weeding and also got rid of all of the suckers coming off that I can find. That's 8 suckers from 12 plants that I've removed, so it just shows you how keen it is at this stage of the season to start spreading. And it's really too soon. It'll still send out loads of suckers later in the season, and we'll be able to propagate new plants from those, so we don't need to worry about that at the moment. I've also weeded around the garlic that are growing quite nicely. Some of them are faring a lot better than others. The next thing I want to try is to protect the strawberries a little bit from the birds, because they'll be very keen on coming down and having a peck of those. Now I've got some old netting here. Now obviously this is plastic, but it's something that I've had for a long time, and because I'm reusing it all the time, it's not such of a problem. If you were looking to get some for new, you might be sort of looking maybe around some organic fleece to be able to do that perhaps, but for the time being I've got this plastic netting. I will need to be careful that it's fully pegged down to make sure there's no opportunity for birds to get under and get trapped, and I'll make sure that it's tucked out the way so that it's limited, and I will keep checking to make sure that there's nothing that's managed to get itself trapped in there. And I have lots of metal pegs here that I'm going to be able to use to push those down and cover that. So that's my next job. Okay, there's a slight change of plan. I didn't use the green netting. I've used this fruit netting that I've got. It's a little bit more flexible, and I've got a larger piece. So what I've been able to do, I've bunched all of the spare underneath the herb bushes so that is tucked out of the way, and then I've made sure that all the way around it's bunched and frequent hoops in to keep it tight against the soil, and I've done that all the way around. It should hopefully be impenetrable by birds, but I will monitor it and make sure that there's not a problem. This is quite flexible, so it allows the growth, so the leaves will be able to continue growing. There's plenty of air getting around for the fruit to ripen, and the sun will get in here. The Pollinators will be able to get through here as well to continue the pollination. Most of the bulk is around the back and the sides, and the front I should just be easily able to lift up and get in and get the fruit, so that should hopefully protect it. So that's one of the jobs I've been working on this week. Let's go on with the next one. Another job I'm going to be working on this week is just making sure that my grapevine is pruned, because it's now started getting into vigorous growth. So we can see there's some real big firm shoots coming here. What I need to do is to control the growth here and make sure it's not getting too carried away. I will be taking back some of these branches to just above where a bunch of grapes is coming, and that way that will ensure that the bunch of grapes has the focus rather than the rest of the stem beyond. And when it comes to these vigorous growths here, I'll be considering how I want the whole structure for the vine to look, whether I've got good placement. Now this side of the vine is reasonably well spread. I've got it growing along where I've got the retaining wire, so each year I've been training those onto there, and I'm then using the spurs that come off of that to bear the fruit. So these branches here at the end, I'm not really going to be wanting those to be too vigorous. I need these to be bearing fruit, if at all, so I will be taking those right back. And what I will be looking out for are other branches growing along here that I can train, because at the moment I don't have anything coming along this trailing wire here, so it would be good if there's a branch that I could train along there. It's not looking that way at the moment, but that's what I will be looking out for. But certainly here I'm not really going to be able to utilize these. It would be great if they were starting to fruit. They may well do, but I can't see anything on there at the moment. But all I'm going to do is just snip this back to a leaf node there, and the same with this one. I don't want this doing huge amounts, so I'm just going to take it back to just above a leaf node and do a little slanted cut, and I'm going to be working across the vine, carrying that on, just tidying it. But I say, when I see one that has a bunch of grapes forming, as in this one, I will take it just above that bunch, and often I'll look to see how many bunches are growing on that particular spur, and generally I'll just leave it to the first bunch and I'll remove it above that so it can concentrate on growing a good bunch of grapes, because there's no point in them loads of bunches that don't form very well. You're better off concentrating on a few decent bunches of grapes. So that's what I'm going to be doing here now. I'm also removing any branches that are crossing. So down the bottom there were a number of branches that were coming out from the same area on the vine, and they were sort of going to be competing and getting in each other's way, and you really need a good airflow around here, because otherwise you'll start getting like mildew on them, and the grapes will deteriorate. So I'm making sure that I've got good airflow around there by removing the competing and crossing branches as well. And what I'm going to do down with this one is I do have a branch coming off that looks like I might be able to train it along the wire. So I'm going to be using the ties, the plant tie, just to try and encourage that to grow along the bottom wire, so that I've then got another carrying spur that I'm going to be able to get the fruit coming off. So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, I think that's enough for now. I've gone and trained it as much as I want to. I don't want to take it back too far on some of these branches, because they still need a little bit of room to grow, give them an opportunity there. But I've gone and removed some dead branches, dead leaves from here that look to be a little bit diseased. I've gone and tied in that one along the wire to try and train it there. So I think that's fine for the time being. I'll keep an eye and see how it's going. And generally, I'll do this a number of times during the season, just to keep it in as good a shape as I possibly can. I've got another vine that I further up the terrace. I also do that too. So just keep them all nice and trim for the season. So that's another good job jobbed. I have videoed about this before, but this is just an example of what happens when you're able to leave parts of your garden to go wild. What we've got here are a couple of pyramidal orchids. They come up every year. Well, we had one here, and we've now got a couple of flowers coming on this as well. So this is a pyramidal orchid. Beautiful. And we've got a couple of other orchids in other areas around the garden, so let's just find those for you. Here in the wildflower area, we have another one down below. Let me find that. There we go. Another orchid in the wildflower area. And we've got one of these as we come into the house as well, up our path. Very fortunate living in Dover, the chalky area, that we're able to get these orchids growing. It's brilliant. If you leave it to nature, that's what happens. Well, there you go, folks. That's what I've been working on over the last couple of weeks in my garden. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please click the like button down below. And if you haven't done so, please leave your comments. Let me know what you've been working on, whether you've been doing the same thing as me, whether you've done something slightly differently. I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't done so already, then why not subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you get notified when I load up a new video. Well, thanks for watching, folks. Until next time, bye.